So there's a lot more going on with No Man's Sky 4.0 that we might have initially expected. While the upcoming major update dropping on October 7th might not be on the same scale as the content in Next or Beyond, there's still a lot of exciting stuff coming both for newcomers and longtime fans likewise. The Switch release has made some fundamental changes to the game structure and balance, so we're gonna talk about all of that in this video, and let's dive right in. But before we jump in, a word from today's sponsor, The Cycle Frontier. If you like the thrill of descending on beautiful alien planets, battle for resources with other players and AI enemies, or just want a solid first-person sci-fi shooter, then The Cycle Frontier is pretty much your perfect fit. The brand new Season 2 is about to come up, and it will raise the stakes higher than ever, with the most challenging map to date being added in it of the brand new Tharis Island. Playing through this island, you'll find vast unknown technologies waiting to be discovered, new exciting hidden mechanics, and of course new ways to challenge your enemies. You'll also get to play through a brand new Fortuna Pass to unlock some amazing new items and cosmetics, utilize the brand new gear perk system, and much more added with the Season 2. There's lots being done to constantly update and improve the gameplay experience, so totally check out The Cycle Frontier using my links down below. It's currently available on Steam and the Epic Games Store, and I'll give another big thanks to the team for sponsoring today's video. Now, one of the biggest things Hello Games is doing with Update 4.0 is streamlining all of the 6 years of updates and features in a more cohesive whole. This would prove especially useful for returning players who might have skipped a few updates and features and might otherwise feel overwhelmed dropping back in after waiting a long period of time. Some of these features Sean Murray mentioned they are revisiting includes the tutorial, which would be the start of the game, when you unlock things and what is available to you. This also further extends to the game's inventory system, which according to Hello Games has enabled them to massively increase what's the effective level cap over No Man's Sky. So think of this as bigger inventories from this point on and ways to level up your ships and weapons further than what's currently possible in the game. Players who have previously maxed out their inventories will especially now have the ability to acquire even more inventory space moving forward. It doesn't just stop here, and there's other fundamental changes being done to what makes up No Man's Sky because of the Switch development, and one of them is to the save file system, which no longer relies on you manually saving via your ship or save points in 4.0, but rather now has a system in place that will constantly save your game, so you do not have to worry about losing any progress from this point on, which is something that can happen from time to time when you forget to do that in the current version of No Man's Sky. For everything else, let's talk about some other exciting stuff coming in, one of which is access to all of the expedition from its own curated menu. There's going to be now an intergalactic sandbox where you're going to get access to all of the previously released expeditions. I said this before and I'll say it again, these are some of the best ways to get started in No Man's Sky, even as a new player, as they provide a way to upgrade your character faster than in other save files, and then you can just convert them to normal save files. You also get account-wide rewards like various ships, armor upgrades, and so on that can help a ton, both in current save files, but especially when starting new adventures. Moving forward, there's new additions too, so if you're looking forward to that, there's gonna be info portals. This is a new feature called that way, which collects everything you've done so far, things that you have collected, and will provide more info on that, including a summary of the story according to recent interviews, which to me sounds the most exciting. Honestly, I think the story summary hits home for me because I always found it confusing and never bothering to follow it too much, so this could provide a greater context both to newcomers and existing players to what's our current purpose at the end of the day in the whole universe of No Man's Sky. There's additional reasons for longtime players to further continue their journey in No Man's Sky even in Update 4.0, one of them being the expansion of the milestones currently existing. So these would cover things like the combat stats, travel, time spent on certain planets, alien encounters, and so on. Well, these will be expanded upon in Update 4.0, so now the goals that you aim for are going to be even more diverse. These would occasionally also tie in with the main story and sometimes even typical rewards, so we'll find out more on Friday how this is going to pan out. As part of the 4.0 update, No Man's Sky will also launch with a new relaxed game mode. As a matter of fact, many of the current difficulty modes in No Man's Sky will either get overhauled or changed in one way or another, but the relaxed mode is a completely new one that will focus more on exploration and less on surviving and grinding. If it sounds familiar with creative, it kinda is, but not really, in the sense that this one will not unlock all of the crafting blueprints right away like how creative does, and from the interviews it sounds like it's situated anywhere between creative and normal mode currently existing in No Man's Sky. But there's some other benefits. Compared to existing game modes, this will also be great for both newcomers and veterans likewise, as it lets you swap in and out even with existing save files. So if you, for example, already have a main save file played on a different difficulty, you can, for example, to just switch to this relaxed mode and just kick back, relax and play that way, or just if you don't like it, switch back to your previous mode and continue from that point on. It definitely sounds really nice and could potentially help a ton with other possibilities, including for speedrunning or helping you in the early stages of the survival. And speaking of survival, let's talk about survival mode. The second most popular game mode in No Man's Sky is also getting a full overhaul, as Hello Games considered that it wasn't challenging enough prior to 4.0, and it really wasn't. It was actually getting its peak within the first few hours when the challenges were a little bit more difficult as you did not have any upgrades, but eventually it would just taper off and things would become easier again as you would get more and more upgrades for your character and your tools. Well, that's no longer gonna be the case in 4.0, and it seems that they will be bumping that difficulty quite a bit to keep that challenge for much longer. Finally, in other game mode categories, there's also the addition of the custom games, which enables players to create bespoke sessions that better fit their needs at any given time, featuring options to adjust everything from the controls to difficulty, crafting, to how a lot of the fundamentals work in terms of the pacing of the game. If you recently played games like The Last of Us Part 2, they also featured a custom difficulty setting where you could choose these parameters and kind of like make your own difficulty setting. That seems to also be the case with 4.0 in No Man's Sky. Now, there's good news, but also some bad news, especially when it comes to doing a few sacrifices for the Switch re-release. And when I say sacrifices, I mean specifically they only apply to that version of the game. Delivering a game like No Man's Sky to the Switch can be quite the undertaking despite the massive improvements No Man's Sky has made in terms of performance over the years. As such, a few features will unfortunately not make it, at least on launch, and probably never. One of them is the settlement systems, which is one of the most performance-intensive features according to Hello Games, which had to go pretty much to make room for a more fluid gameplay. And so does multiplayer, as a lobby filled with other people would also cause massive performance issues. From the looks of it, it's highly unlikely these will ever make their way back to the Switch port, given its current hardware limitations, but that doesn't mean a possible Switch 2 or a better console later down the line would not be capable of having them back, which would be quite nice. In any case, Hello Games has shown no signs of stopping update support for No Man's Sky and will continue well into the future, as now the team has streamlined the update process better than ever. I would not expect a No Man's Sky sequel anytime soon though, as Hello Games is currently working on only one other ambitious project onto the sidelines at the same scale as No Man's Sky, and Sean Murray confirmed that even that will not drop for at least a few more years. According to him in an interview a while ago, that one is still very early in development and further along than No Man's Sky was when they announced that, which was I think in 2014. So think of this, that we're in 2014 currently and we're still at least 2-3 years away from whatever this secret project is in terms of release dates, if not even more. But this is pretty much it with the recent news. Of course, expect more coverage on Friday once the update drops. In the meantime, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.